Keaton Winn is the Giants' number 5 starter, and he absolutely looked the part as he carved apart the New York Mets last night and led the Giants to a victory in Game 1 of a series against a competitive team at home.
You are Locked On Giants, your daily San Francisco Giants podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hello and welcome to Locked On Giants, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, where it's your team every day. My name is Ben Kaspick, and on the show we provide daily episodes Monday through Friday, talking about the San Francisco Giants in a way that's data-driven and rational, but also simple, passionate, and accessible to all. I'm a former contributor for the baseball statistics and analysis websites Beyond the Box Score and Rotographs. I've been podcasting about the Giants since 2015, and I'm a lifelong fan. And I've been hosting this show for over 5 years now. Thank you for making Locked On Giants your first listen every day. We're free and available wherever you get your podcasts, including YouTube. Check us out there if you have not already. Please hit that subscribe button wherever it is that you're following the show. And if you're watching the show live on YouTube, welcome. Today's episode is brought to you by Monopoly Go. I admit it. I've been admitting it. I have a competitive side. And my competitive side, is a big fan of Monopoly Go, the mobile hit twist on classic Monopoly. So join your friends and download Monopoly Go, now free on the App Store or Google Play. And coming up on today's show, we're going to get into the Giants' 5-2 win over the Mets, who had been playing well. Outside of their game coming into this game, they lost 10-0 in the finale against the Dodgers. But otherwise, they started 0-5, I believe it was, and then they were 12-9 coming into the game. So that would be 12-4 in their last 16 games coming into this game last night. And the Giants and Keaton Winn dominated them. And that's what you like to see. And that's kind of what yesterday's show was about, was that if you want to be a serious contender, you go toe-to-toe with. I'm not saying the Mets are the best team in baseball or anything like that, but they're a competitive team. They have a huge payroll, and you're going toe-to-toe with them, and you're at home. If you want to be serious, you win these kind of series. That's like a tagline I could make. If you want to be serious, you got to win series, and especially at home. And so I feel like the last couple of years, they've lost a lot of. I could probably research this, but I feel like they've lost a lot of game ones of series, and then it's hard to win a series that way because you have to win the next two games, and it's it's kind of how I look at it. I take it one series at a time. And if you just win series all season long, especially at home, and if you can play more or less 500 on the road, then you end up generally making the playoffs. And so for the Giants, I mean, playing a good competitive Mets team and looking the part is a good sign. And they seem to be coming out of their early season minor struggles. And the huge takeaway from this game for me was Keaton Winn, who allowed one run. It was a solo homer to Pete Alonso, who's hit, 199 career homers in his short major league career. So that's what the guy does. And yeah, okay, Keaton Winn gave one up, but 6 innings, 4 hits, 1 run, 1 walk, 6 strikeouts. Splitter was just devastating yesterday. And the fastball was, mid to upper 90s, and mixing in a slider as well. And so Keaton Winn, like I said in the opener, this is your number 5 starter. And you also have guys like Alex Cobb and Robbie Ray waiting in the wings. And so this team, I keep saying it, like every time Logan Webb's turn comes around, which it is again tonight, turn in the rotation, it's like, oh, they've got really good starting pitching because it's like, where's the weak spot? I guess, I mean, the weak spot right now is like Blake Snell, right? And he's the reigning Cy Young Award winner. And I don't know, Kyle Harrison has certainly had his ups and downs, but Keaton Winn, on the season now, he's got a 3.54 ERA, and that's what you're getting out of your number 5 starter. I will just say, for the sake of being transparent, like I always say these stats, the expected ERA is about a run higher. It's 0.9 runs higher at 4.44. That's based on like StatCast data, like quality of contact basically some balls were hit hard that got caught, essentially, is what that means. Um, but the fielding independent pitching, which is another kind of peripheral number, like not actually based on runs allowed, it's more like theoretical, is fine and good at 4.0, and the expected fielding independent pitching is 3.48. And so anyway, I mean, we can just watch the game and see that this is a guy who has tremendous potential. Like if I'm gonna look at his average fastball velocity. He's throwing an average fastball velocity of 95.4 uh, miles an hour, and he's thrown his slider now 14% of the time. He only threw it 3.5% of the time last year, and his splitter last year he used it 55% of the time. This year 43, and I saw a note on the broadcast, which is crazy because it's down 12 percentage points, but that his splitter usage this season is the highest in Major League Baseball. Maybe that was just among starters, maybe not, but yeah, it's just barely not his primary pitch. The fastball, I mean, 43.4% for the fastball, 43% splitter. So it's like, take a guess, fastball or splitter, and then he's going to mix in that an 88 mile an hour slider as well. The splitter averages 90 or no, 89 miles an hour, excuse me. So 95 with the fastball, 89 with the splitter. A lot of hard stuff from Keaton Winn. And this kid is 26 years old, drafted in 2018. So that's previous regime draft, fifth round pick. And I don't know, he just looks the part. You know, he looks the part of definitely a major league caliber pitcher. And he gets the ball on the ground too. That's the thing, is the Giants, they've got a lot of ground ball pitchers. Logan Webb, Alex Cobb when he comes back. Why am I blank? Oh, Jordan Hicks, extreme ground ball pitcher, Keaton Winn. And so they just continue to find guys, have guys who just keep the ball on the ground. And it's hard to do damage against teams um, when it's, if you're an offense, it's hard to do damage when you're hitting the ball on the ground super often. And the Giants continue to be, like, the last couple years, the last several years, they've been league leaders in ground ball rate, and this year they're second at 49.2% as a team. So, you know, the trend continues, and also their walk rate is really good at what is it? It's 7.3%, which is the sixth lowest in Major League Baseball. So they're I just feel good about their pitching, and some of that includes the bullpen. And there's some new arms in the bullpen. One is new only because he's coming off the injured list, but he got hurt in his first outing of the year. The other is new because they traded for him, and he's been added to the roster today. So we'll get into that, and we'll get into just the Giants looking the part and the kind of numbers behind the ability to beat this Mets team, where the Giants stand in the standings, you know, where they are in run differential, all that kind of stuff. And just take a big picture look at some of the numbers too for the pitchers is one of the things I want to focus on, because we're talking about Keaton Winn, but we're also talking about, okay, overall though, pitching has been a problem. So we'll get into all of that stuff in just a minute. And before we do, today's episode is brought to you by our oh so good friends over at Game Time. Buying tickets to your favorite event, whether it's the Giants or a concert or theater or comedy, whatever it is, it shouldn't have to be stressful, because you're trying to go have a good time. Why do you want to be stressed out ahead of time? Well, with Game Time, for me personally, all those stresses are taken away, because the two things that matter the most to me, number one, I really want to know what is the view going to be like from my seat. And with Game Time, you get panoramic views, images of your seat. And then number two for me is, am I getting the best price? And that's often a tough call. And it's like, do I buy early? Do I buy late? Do I buy somewhere in between? And with Game Time, you get the Game Time guarantee, which means you always get the best price. Because if you find tickets in the same section in a row for less, Game Time will credit you 110% of the difference. So take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONMLB for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem code LOCKEDONMLB for $20 off. Download Game Time today. Last minute tickets, lowest price guaranteed. Today's episode is also brought to you in part by Policy Genius. Policy Genius is the smarter way to buy insurance. Their proprietary technology makes it easy to compare personalized quotes and policies from top-rated insurers side by side. Policy Genius's team of licensed experts is here to answer questions, handle paperwork, and help you make decisions with confidence. They work for you, not for the insurance companies. From exploring coverage options to making policy adjustments as your life changes, Policy Genius is your advocate at every step. And Policy Genius is committed to your information remaining secure. Your security is their priority. They use industry-leading security practices to help keep your information safe. Check life insurance off your to-do list in no time with Policy Genius. Head to policygenius.com/lockedonmlb or click on the link in the description to get your free life insurance quotes and see how much you could save. That's policygenius.com/lockedonmlb. All right, as promised, we are going to discuss the kind of the weird season that the Giants have had. Like, it's odd to me to be like raving about their pitching and then looking up their ERA and seeing that they're like one of the worst in the league, but like it just doesn't add up to me. So their team ERA remains 26th in baseball at 4.76, but their fielding independent pitching is much better than that. And so why is that? They're not stranding as many runners as you would expect. So we'll break that down and also talk about the new arms that potentially could carry the Giants to improved results on the pitching front, along with guys like Blake Snell improving. Thanks again for making Locked On Giants your first listen every day. Every dayers tomorrow. Oh, we're going to be breaking down Logan Webb on the mound for the Giants versus Luis Severino. So Severino's having a nice year, and so this is going to be a tough test for the offense. But Logan Webb, I mean, he's gone 7 innings in each of his last 3 starts. I think it was 2 runs, 1 run, no runs. And so Webb is on a roll. It's crazy. It just doesn't it seem, is it just me, or like it seems like, wow, it's Webb again? And that's because you feel pretty good about every starter who goes out there. I know Snell has struggled, but like he just won the Cy Young Award. Like, just he'll probably be fine. So anyway, just a reminder, you can catch every pitch of the Giants' hometown broadcast with SiriusXM on the SXM app. Just search the word Giants. So yeah, the Giants have a 4.76 team ERA. And so when I say they looked the part of that was that they pitched well until Camilo Doval got a little squirrely in the ninth, gave up a run, walked 2, no strikeouts, and threw a wild pitch. I mean, he just wasn't sharp. But he got the cool light intro, right? They went the whole first homestand of the year without hitting a homer so they could show off their home run lights. And they went up until yesterday before there was like a Camilo Doval entrance into a game. And it wasn't even a save situation. So that's kind of crazy. Maybe a night game. So yeah. Anyway, I mean, this was a 5-1 game going into the ninth. It was just like well in hand pretty much the whole game. The Giants just basically kept the Mets at bay. Things did get a little weird in the ninth, but they got out of it, thankfully. So it just doesn't all add up to me when I see a 4.76 ERA, which is 26th in baseball. I don't see this pitching staff being the like 5th worst pitching staff in baseball. I just don't at all. So their fielding independent pitching as a team is 21st, which is also not great, but it's better than 26th. And the difference between their actual ERA and their fielding independent pitching in the negative direction, meaning the ERA being higher than the fielding independent pitching, is the 4th highest difference in the sport. And so you can make an argument that that means that they've been kind of like one of the more unlucky pitching teams in the game. Their strand rate, left on base percentage, I talk about this every year. I've talked about it this year. When all is said and done, they'll sit around 72%. It's just like a magic number that happens for pretty much every team. And the Giants right now, their left on base percentage is, oh my gosh, literally dead last in Major League Baseball. So there you have it. When I say unlucky, so when they allow base runners, those guys score more than we should expect. And moving forward, when they allow base runners, those guys will score about 28% of the time. Right now, when they allow base runners, they score about 35% of the time. And that's how you get an ERA that is significantly higher than some of your peripheral numbers. It's that simple. Like, it really is that simple. And uh, it's not necessarily luck. It could just be bad pitch execution in important situations, but it's a sustainability number. And so, like, to be dead last in this number, they're just not, when all is said and done, they're going to be around 72%. I say this every year. People argue like with me every year about it, and then at the end of the year, I never like circle back. But they always, and every team like kind of regresses to the mean here at about 72%. If you strike a lot of people out as a team, and if you get a lot of, if your defense is really good, then that can make this number higher, and vice versa. If your defense is really bad, and if you don't strike a lot of people out, it can be lower. But to be dead last, I just to be last and to be 7 percentage points below that 72% magic number. Like, if I look at the league average, what is it? It's 71.2%. Okay. So it's not 72 right now. It's 71.2. But anyway, let's look at another number. XFIP, right? Expected fielding independent pitching, kind of takes your home run rate or home run to fly ball ratio and puts it at league average. And the theory behind this is that home run to fly ball ratio is like something that takes a really long time to stabilize. And this number for the Giants, and then it predicts ERA based on that. And for the Giants, this number is at 3.91, which is actually 12th best in baseball behind the Dodgers and the D-backs. And so that's starting to look okay. Like, maybe there's some bad home run luck in there as well. And when I say luck, again, I mean more like sustainability than luck. So I'd actually like to check out their home run to fly ball ratio as a team. And then there's this other number called Skill Interactive ERA, which is Sierra. I honestly don't know exactly what goes into this number, but I know that it's basically like the quality of the opponent is factored in, and the Giants are kind of middle of the pack with a 3.84 here. So anyway, all of this to say, I'm just not particularly worried about the pitching staff, especially with the additions in the bullpen that they've made. I will say I'm going to just currently look up their home run to fly ball ratio. And based on everything I just said, I bet you that it's among the highest in the game. I'm not entirely sure because it's not like their home run rate is super high, but they also get a ton of ground balls. And so when they're allowing fly balls, it could just be that a lot of those fly balls are turning into homers. And let me just reiterate, the point is that the reason that we do this is because that number, home run to fly ball ratio, takes forever to be like stable. And so if you're like doing poorly in it, it's not really predictive that you're going to continue to do poorly. And likewise, if you're doing well, it's not really necessarily predictive that you're going to continue to do well. And so for the Giants, like the Oakland A's, for example, are leading the major leagues with the lowest home run to fly ball ratio as a pitching staff. This is a team that has Alex Wood and Ross Stripling on it. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, that just goes to show you that this is a kind of random number here. So the Giants rank 21st highest. So they're not like the worst, but they're in the bottom third. 11.6% of the fly balls that they've allowed have turned into homers, and the league average is 10.5. So that doesn't seem like a huge difference, but it's a homer here, a homer there, and home runs make a big difference in a ball game, right? Like, if a ball is a homer or not, that makes a huge difference. But overall, because the Giants get so many ground balls, it's not like their home run rate as a team is super high. I think it's exactly 1 home run per 9 innings, which is, and that's right around league average. It's 14th in baseball. the league average home runs per nine is exactly one. And so the Giants are at exactly league average, allowing one home run per nine innings on average. So anyway, coming up momentarily though, we're going to talk about like the specific players who might help be a part of the resurgence of this pitching staff, which I think will happen, given the personnel. Like Blake Snell's ERA is not going to be 13 all season. But also the bullpen has been some kind of lesser known guys, and they've been kind of subbed out with more veteran guys here. And I'm going to get into who those guys are and what to expect from them in just a minute. And before we get into it, today's episode is brought to you in part by Monopoly Go. I have been told I have a competitive side. Well, yeah, okay, fine, I admit it. I definitely have a competitive side. We all do, at least to some extent. And my competitive side is a big fan of Monopoly Go. I'm sure you've heard of it. It's been downloaded over 150 million times. It's a great twist on Monopoly where you play on not one, but hundreds of Monopoly boards in crazy locations, building up amazing cities that bring you big money. But the best part is messing with my friends. I can charge them rent on my iconic properties, just like classic Monopoly, but now I can also heist their vaults of riches for myself. And the leaderboards show me who the biggest Monopoly tycoon is, and it better be me. But it's not just my competitive side that loves it. You can team up with friends and people all around the world in timed tournaments to earn huge rewards. So get in the game and join your friends. Download Monopoly Go now free on the App Store or Google Play. All right, here we go. We are going to get into the new look bullpen, which is kind of an old look bullpen in the sense that it's new look, but it's guys who have either been here or are veterans versus sending out some younger players who are rookies. Thanks again for making Locked On Giants your first listen every day. Everydayers tomorrow breaking down Logan Webb versus Luis Severino. Hey, if you're going to win a series and you've already won the first game, why not win the second game and try to go for a sweep? That's what I always say. I feel like I've rarely said that the last 2 years because I feel like they haven't won a lot of series the last 2 years. It's just been like frustration. But this year, even though their record is what it is, which is not the best, I still feel like this is a team that has a big hot streak in them. This is a better team. They're better than, like, even though their run differential isn't great, and in fact suggests that they're like one win better than they quote unquote should be. I still, like, just looking at the personnel on this team, feel good about them and that they are going to go on a run and get hot and get over 500 and potentially be a playoff team. That's how I feel. By the way, just a reminder, you can catch every pitch of the Giants' hometown broadcast with SiriusXM on the SXM app. Just search the word Giants. Also, are you watching Fox Sports or ESPN on your TV all day? Do you have to turn down the volume sometimes with all that shouting? Make the switch to Locked On Sports today, a free 24/7 sports streaming channel programmed for you every day to bring you the biggest stories without all the screaming. Locked On Sports Today brings you can't-miss analysis, opinions, and news streaming 24/7 on YouTube or the free Fire TV channels app, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. So, Luke Jackson, he was back last night. This was not one that I knew exactly was coming, but he was activated last night, and in a corresponding move, I thought Mitch White was going to be activated. They traded for Mitch White, formerly of the Dodgers and Blue Jays. He was designated for assignment, and the Giants jumped the waiver wire and acquired him for cash. And I thought he was going to be added yesterday, but it was actually Luke Jackson who was activated from the injured list. But my speculation was correct that it was Nick Avila who was optioned to make room for Jackson in the bullpen. And so then today they make another move in the bullpen and they do activate the newly acquired Mitch White. And he joins the 26-man roster, and in a corresponding move, they optioned Landen Roupp to the minors. And so now, looking at the bullpen, we're looking at Camilo Doval, Tyler Rogers, Taylor Rogers, Luke Jackson, Ryan Walker, Eric Miller makes the cut as like the rookie here, Mitch White and Sean Jelly. And so I think the bullpen is better now than it was a couple days ago. Luke Jackson can be really good, and I know he's dealt with some injuries. He obviously dealt with an injury immediately upon the season starting, but Ryan Walker has been a great success story out of the bullpen for the Giants, as has Camilo Doval, as has Tyler Rogers. Taylor Rogers maybe hasn't quite lived up to that contract, but he's still a pretty reliable left-handed reliever and, capable of dominating at any given outing. Eric Miller has been really impressive. I know he gave up some runs. Was it a couple runs the other day? But flashing 100 from the left side with a big sweeping slider and a changeup as well. I mean, just really impressive stuff from the left side from the 26-year-old Eric Miller, and then Mitch White, kind of in that long relief mold. I mean, Mitch White, I remember him from the Dodgers. He was good on the Dodgers, and what does he feature? He features a 94 mile an hour fastball, a 84 mile an hour slider, an 87 mile an hour cutter, and a 13 mile an hour curveball. So he's got a 4 pitch mix. And, so that's a little atypical for a reliever. And they've also got Sean Jelly. So they've got a couple of long guys, which is interesting because their starting rotation is more stable than it's been in recent years, right? Like they've had to have long relievers in their bullpen because they haven't, like last year, the ridiculousness of they just like basically abandoned starting pitching, and they had like 2 starters, right? It was like Logan Webb and Alex Cobb, and every other spot was like bullpen games and guys going just a few innings at a time or whatever. But this year, that's not the case. I mean, Logan Webb's going out there tonight, and then you got Snell, and then you've got Jordan Hicks, who's been eating innings, and then you've Kyle Harrison as well, and Keaton Winn. So, I mean, I'm not against Mitch White. It's just interesting that you've got both Mitch White and Sean Jelly in that bullpen, and then the combination of Miller, Walker, Jackson, the Rogers twins, and Doval. I just think this is a pitching staff that has the potential to be really, really good. And you've also got guys like Robbie Ray, Alex Cobb, Tristan Beck on the injured list. And when those guys come back, I mean, it's going to be hard to find a spot. But unfortunately, these things do have a way of working themselves out a lot of the time. And you never know who gets injured and what is going to happen and underperformance and blah, 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 blah. But anyway, just wanted to mention that Mitch White and Luke Jackson, who I believe it was his first outing of the year. I was there in San Diego. Yeah, I mean, he didn't get an out. His ERA on the season is somehow not infinity. How do they call it? Just 27. He didn't get an out, and he allowed a run. I don't know. Whatever. It doesn't matter. The point is, he was injured to start the season. But last year, this is a guy who had a 2.97 ERA, 3.30 expected ERA, 3.29 fielding independent pitching. The projections for him are not so rosy. I don't quite understand. I mean, last year was a very good year. A lot of strikeouts. The thing is, he does struggle with command at times, but he's a known commodity. And with Roupp and with Avila, it's like they're not known commodities, and it's not to say they shouldn't and won't get their chances, but with Jackson, I mean, he's on a guaranteed contract and he throws hard. I mean, 95 on average, with a slider that's 88 on average, and it's just big straight downward movement with that slider. So a healthy Luke Jackson can be an effective Luke Jackson, and I'm very interested to see how they use Mitch White, especially with also having Sean Jelly. So that's just going to be super interesting for me to see. And he's on the roster tonight, so we could see him as early as tonight. So previewing tonight's game, like I said, it's going to be Logan Webb on the mound for the Giants. Logan Webb has just been on a roll after, I don't want to call it a rough start, but last year he had a little bit of a tough start, and then he finished second in Cy Young voting. Blake Snell had a rough start last year. Through 9 starts, he had a 5.40 ERA. I'm going to keep repeating that. But I'm interested to see the performance against Luis Severino because this guy has put up a 2.14 ERA with the Mets in 4 starts. He's got good stuff. I'm gonna check on the velo now. Yeah, his average fastball is 96, and he throws it 55% of the time. So he loves his fastball, throws it hard, and he's tough. I mean, he's he's just been a good pitcher when he's been healthy. And so Giants offense might have their hands full tonight, but so might the Mets offense because you've got Logan Webb on the mound. So, anyway, with all of that said, that is all the time we have for today. Thanks again for making Locked On Giants your first listen every day, everydayers. We're going to be breaking this one down tomorrow. And also, by the way, Locked On has launched the first ever national sports 24/7 streaming channel on YouTube, and now it's also available on Fire TV in the free Fire TV channels app. Locked On Sports Today is here for you 24/7, covering the top sports stories of the day with the local experts of Locked On, plus our national shows covering every league. Find Locked On Sports Today now available on the free Fire TV channels app. And also, just one final reminder, maybe not the final time actually, but the Locked On Giants postcast feed with Eric Engel after every game. You can find it at Locked On Sports Bay Area on YouTube. And after every game, Eric Engel is breaking it down, and you can be there and join the conversation right after the game, because that's not what we do on this show, Locked On Giants. We kind of are more big picture. He's kind of more granular on the game that just transpired. So check that out if you haven't already. It also shows up on the normal Locked On Giants podcast feed, but it's live on YouTube on Locked On Sports Bay Area. Anyway, once again, my name is Ben Kaspick. Check me out on Twitter at Ben Kaspick, Kaspick. If you like the show, please consider rating it or leaving a review. Helps me out so much. So thank you in advance. Thanks to everyone who's done so already. Can't wait to be with you again tomorrow. Go Giants. Thanks again for listening. You are now Locked On Giants.